Sean here. Went through some really tough stuff. Don't want to get into it. Don't want to pass it on. But I'm making a video. I was over in Eel Rig Extreme. Suddenly got the inspiration after interacting with a few people. Thank you guys so much. But it occurred to me the perfect analogy slash metaphor slash simile slash example. I'm just throwing out words now because quite honestly I'm on crack, I think. Put 4 people on a track. That track is life. And then you have those 4 people run the 100-yard dash, which we're going to say is from birth to death. 3 of them will make it to the finish line. Sure, they'll have a couple hurdles along the way, but they'll make it. Then you have the 4th person. They're putting hurdles out every few feet and then complaining that there are hurdles in their path. That's Lorne. He has a clear shot to the finish line, but he keeps putting those hurdles out. And what am I talking about? I think subconsciously Lorne knows the end of the line is getting through his rape class, no longer having excuses, not relying on anyone else, having to take responsibility for his actions. It's almost like he doesn't want to get there. He's pushing and pushing and pushing, and then he realizes, oh crap, I'm at a commitment point. I'm going to have to show these fake women who I really am. What if they're real? Then I'm going to have to show them who I really am. Then I'm going to have to deal with them in person. I know in person they're not going to tolerate my yelling and my screaming and my name calling, my mental abuse, and most likely physical abuse. We know verbal abuse is his superpower. A few things about him that's probably the most frustrating is to watch a guy have a clear path to the finish line and put hurdles out, trip over them, and then complain that nobody else is having to deal with the hurdles. Well, look at everybody else. Or he gets maybe 10 feet in and looks over, and one person has a very large hurdle they have to get over. They get over it and they keep going. Well, what Lorne sees, at least in my opinion, look, they have hurdles and I have hurdles too. What he doesn't see is that it's a big hurdle for them and they're climbing over it and they move on and they finish the race. Lorne just equates all hurdles as the same, at the same height, the same width, the same spacing. He knows the concept of roadblocks, but the frequency of roadblocks in his life, oh my God, I think we can all agree that there's one every 5 seconds. And most of the time, he's setting them up. His actions. Everybody else, they're just trying to deal with what life throws at them. And a lot of times, it's hard. And you have to deal with things that are hard. And you don't want to deal with them. People with depression, and this is why sometimes I wonder about Lorne. People with depression, they will put off paying their bills, even though they don't need to. They may even have the money. They just push things off. Now, the same thing could be said about people with bipolar and whatever else. But with Lorne, quite honestly, sorry for that inhale. With Lorne, quite honestly, when we're talking about depression, I just don't see it. I think, or maybe a little, but it's for the wrong reasons. And I don't know if you agree with me or not, or you understand what I'm saying is, Lorne is depressed that he has to do all of this stuff that he's required to do, that he should be doing. He's depressed that taking the right path is hard. He's not depressed that he's in the lane taking him straight to hell. He's not depressed about that at all. At least I don't think so. I think his main concern is the fact that he could take the right path, but it's much longer, much harder. There's adversity there. And I know as you get older, you get tired. And I've said this before. I had a quote from a mentor of mine, a magician, just a wonderful human being. His name was Bob Carnegie. He played in the Everly Brothers, I believe. He played bass for them when they were on the road. Because, you have standing musicians. He caught I can't remember if it was the Roadside or the Hillside Strangler. And Bob retired. And this guy, I just got to tell you this real quick. It's so interesting. He worked with cadaver dogs when he retired. He was one hell of a magician. He could do things so simple that made me and a bunch of other people get up, walk out the door, because they were so incredible. And when he showed them to you, you were like, that's it? Because it was all psychological. I learned so much from him. When he died, he donated his body for training for cadaver dogs. Unreal. Now, he changed a lot. He had a heart transplant surgery. And I know it's got to be terrifying because you're not guaranteed any amount of life. It could be a day, could be an hour, could be 10 years, who knows. And after that, his magic went down. But one thing Bob told me after he had that surgery, he's like, you know what? He said, Sean, when you get older, you get so tired. And if you live long enough, you don't fear death because you might finally get enough rest. It's just something that stuck with me. And as Lorne gets older, he's in bad shape. His diet's terrible. We know he smokes. I'm pretty sure he still drinks. Pretty sure. Can't prove it. I think it's going to get worse. I think there's the restrictions. I don't ever want to hear the word restrictions again. As the restrictions loosen, because they eventually will, good behavior, Lorne will always do just enough to get by. Well, I'm going to counseling, I'm going to counseling, and he likes to tell people what he's doing. He doesn't like to do it. I may have said this before, but it really fits in right here. The people who go on a diet and tell everybody else about their dietary, supplements, and they tell them about their exercising and their intake, and you know what I'm talking about. Lorne loves to tell people all of this stuff he's doing. I'm going to counseling. Well, I got this going on. I got this next week. I got all this stuff. I got a job right around the corner. But he knows, I think deep down, when it comes to the job, he's not going to get it. I have an acquaintance of mine who's always about to get the big job. Always. Comes out of there so positive. I mean, there's a difference between being positive and being grounded, being realistic or based, or just keeping your feet on the ground and keeping your eyes on the road and not taking them off. Lorne would pause his life for 3 to 4 weeks for a potential job because that gives him the excuse to stop doing everything else, to stop looking for a job. And when they ask him, he can just say, well, the job was a sure thing. It fell through at the last minute. What'd you want me to do? Anything that allows him to pull over to the side of the road, smoke a cigarette, and watch everybody else drive by. And he's the kind of guy who would sit out in front of his trailer, watch the cars go by, and it would never occur to him, holy crap, these people have lives. I wonder where they're going. I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder where their destination, I wonder what their destination is after that. Are they on vacation? Lorne would sit there and complain about the cars driving in front of his trailer because his world ends, and I'm guessing it probably ends at the end of his driveway. He doesn't make it past the end of his driveway very much, and if he does, it's to go get cigarettes, which I don't even think he does anymore. I think Lorne's the kind of guy, rather than pay his bills, he would pay somebody $20 to make a cigarette run and bring those cigarettes back. Well, I saved myself gas money, wear and tear on my tires, plus, I got a lot of stuff done around the house while you can hear it. That's the way his brain thinks. None of this screams depression. And those of us that deal with it, and there are people who have it worse than I do with post-traumatic stuff, I'm not comparing myself to them. Because I gave myself PTSD over the years and how I responded and didn't seek out help. And looking back at how I handled all that stuff, it pops into your brain. And sometimes you just got to deal with it. And you got to realize that's who I was at that time. What point am I making? I hate to compare myself to this douche, but the point I'm making is Lorne can't do that. He can only do that when it fits his narrative. When he can say, well, that was me back then. But now that I think about it, he only talks about chatting online as that was me back then. He doesn't actually say, like we've talked about, where he's talking about, I was in a different spot. I finally found, this girl, and I knew she was underage. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I was just so weak at the time. But I'm going to counseling, and I figured out, my weaknesses, my triggers. Dude, That would do a lot with the woman, is to tell her the truth. If that was your truth. Lorne couldn't even come up with that lie. Thank God. Lorne, if you're listening, you're not going to be good enough to pass this off. I don't know very many women who could tolerate it, but if this person was a good man, if they were, or a good woman, whoever it is, if they were a good person, and you saw their actions, and you heard their story, and it seemed genuine, Lorne's problem is this. He could tell that story. I know I'm all over the place, just bear with me. Lorne's problem is that story couldn't be believable because he doesn't leave his house. He doesn't have a job. He's still focused solely on the injustice done to him by NBC, all the catfish. There is no way in hell a woman is going to listen to that excuse. Look at his hygiene. Look at his grooming habits. Look at his trailer. Look at his prospects, his options, his debt, everything, and say, you know what? I believe you. Because nothing's changed. In fact, his life's gotten worse. That's why I think people like Jeff Stacy, and there was another gentleman, forgive me, I can't remember his name. But you have guys like John Dupie, and you have the guy with the cowboy hat who's looking for blacktop work. All those guys, they've gone backwards because this wrecked them. This is who they truly are. And I think that's part of the reason some of these guys backslide. Because it's who they truly are. Because they got caught for doing what they wanted to do. And some of these other guys realize, whatever their reasoning is, I'm not saying it's okay, they might be thankful that they got caught. Holy crap. What was I thinking? I was wanting to have this fantasy about the teacher driving in the car and the student on, what's the song? Don't Stand So Close to Me. Teacher driving in the car, and there was a student soaking wet at the bus stop and recognizes her, picks her up, and the next thing you know, they're having a romance. Maybe something like that, but not Lorne. See, Lorne had to come at that moment, come face to face with who he is and what he's done before that. He got caught. And someone made him face the mirror. Someone said, look, you're done. And in the past, Lorne could try to talk his way out of it because it wasn't the law. It wasn't legal stuff. And if it wasn't for messing. Most women, in my opinion, if they get a stalker or some creepo, they just want to move on. Let the cops talk to them. Restraining order, go away. And we know that restraining orders don't work for Mr. Lorne Armstrong. They don't. They don't. Because it's in his past. And they wouldn't work. Because they're just pieces of paper. You don't understand. Why can't you love me? You see how much I love you? He's the guy with them tied up in the chair with the knife in his hand and they've got duct tape over their mouth. I didn't mean you. I just want you to listen, to hear what I'm saying. God, you made me do this. That's Lorne. I don't think he's depressed, because after saying everything I just said and knowing he knows who he is, he knows the type of person he is, but he doesn't want anybody else to know the type of person he is. The only time he's ever sad is when he thinks it's going to, take away what he wants. He's probably the kid who got grounded and screamed and cried and yelled because he couldn't go do what he wanted. He's the kind of guy that would scream and cry and yell for 4 hours to be able to go out, to be able to go outside and play, then go outside and play for 10 to 15 minutes and complain about how boring it was. Because I think he enjoys the screaming, the crying, the yelling. That's the exciting part. I don't know what his problem is, but I do know there's a short circuit somewhere. And he's going to keep putting those hurdles in front of him, and he's going to keep tripping, and he's going to keep looking at everybody else. Well, they had hurdles too, I'm still working on getting past them. The problem with Lorne is, as he's trying to get over a hurdle, he's putting another hurdle right in front of him. Every time he's just doing something, adding another restriction, adding another, monitor to him, doing something stupid. He has nothing in his life that can make some people eat, right? Some people spend a lot of money, they shop. Lorne can't do that. He took out those loans. I don't know what the deal is. I don't really know what all that is, but I do know that he was in major debt. And he probably just wasted that money on crap he would never need. Probably spent it on going... I guarantee he's gone to a few restaurants if he had money and dropped big tips, hoping that the waitress would come over and sit on his lap. He has no outlets, and that's kind of scary, because if you suffer from depression, you have to have something you enjoy. There are video games I enjoy. There's a video game right now I have played so many hours of because I can escape reality, and I'm watching, like right now, to take my mind off of things, I'm watching something I enjoy. Supernatural Marathon. The show got stupid as it, dumber as it went on, but it's still a good show. I didn't like the final season, but you know what? It's Sam and Dean. Love it anyway. But I find things that I want that'll help me escape reality. When my son's here, we find things to do. My son also escapes reality, but he doesn't leave reality. Lorne's reality is not regular reality. We all know that. And so the point I'm making is, Lorne has created his own universe. The multiverse of badness. He just created his own universe with his own rules. If he could Thanos snap, he would. God knows what would happen. But I would imagine it would end up with him, his trailer fixed up, because he wouldn't think of a mansion. He wouldn't think about anything. It would be, hand me the glove, snap. Unlimited cigarettes. I don't know if he'd wish for women or not. Lorne is the kind of guy that would wish for women to want him. Not wish for all the deviousness that comes along with it. Because he's not that clever. He's not that smart. He doesn't think it through. So he'd snap his fingers, Thanos snap, cigarettes, alcohol. Maybe his mom might feel better. That'd be like the 800th thing he thought of. His trailer would be fixed up. Maybe he'd have his truck brand new. I don't think he would wish for anything outside of his little universe. I don't think he would care that there's a whole world out there where he could move, where he could do something. He'd want to sit in his trailer, post YouTube videos, because we all know YouTube videos, especially from people like Lorne, I don't even know if Lorne would wish it was off his record. And if he did, he would only wish it